We have the opportunity to make a habit of empathy, to recognize ourselves in each other.
Okay, my name is Patrick Siebert. I live in Austin, Texas. Email pat@patsiebert.com. And I started studying the work of Dr. Moshe Feldenkrais in 1980, and I've been doing that work, which is how to take care of your body and your physical moving around on the planet a little bit easier. And that came out of a series of many injuries, many physical injuries, crushed back and horses trampling me and things like that, sports injuries. And then I got interested in Marshall Rosenberg's work about 12 years ago. And that came out of, there are just lots of sons of bitches out there that I find it difficult to get along with. And so I figured it would probably be easy for me to make a living if I learned how to get along with sons of bitches. And so there's some pain in there also, and became very interested in his work when he started demonstrating that it was the thought patterns that I have, that there are sons of bitches out there that could be part of the difficulty. Great. Well, see, just so what you're talking about right now, just because you have somebody and the word Austin actually means something to you, that there's something that's taking place between me and there's something that you like that I like. And I think that's what has to do a lot with empathy, is finding out what it is that's going on in the other person that you have some admiration for, and can somehow look through their way of expressing that as just a colloquial way of saying, wow, man, there's something that's going on inside of you that's similar, very similar to what's going on inside of me. One of the things in the Indian phrase of namaste means I admire the divinity that's in you as the divinity that's in me. And in Austin, Texas, I say namastaco, which is, it's not Spanish, there's no more tacos. It's the Indian phrase, which is I admire the divine taco that's in you as the divine taco that's in me. And so that has to do with empathy too, is that it can be about just the foods that we like together. Do you like Indian food? Do you like Chinese food? Do you like, it's just we find out what it is that we share in common, and then we express that to each other. And then when we get sideways of each other in some way or another and get to arguing and maybe even violent with each other, is what is it that after we get through that expression, how is it that we can find that common ground again and get, closer with each other again? And for me, dogs represent this as well as anybody. A dog is loyal to you no matter what you do. You can walk in and, well, this may not be the best way to put it, but you can walk in and, and hit a dog with a shovel and, and it whelps a little bit, and then 2 minutes later you walk back in the room and it's just wagging its tail. I'm glad to see you, man. And it forgets all about the fact that you may not have been as kind to it, 5 minutes ago as you are right now. And so that kind of forgetfulness and forgiveness that is that helps us keep our, letting go of any kind of grudges that you have towards others is an empathetic response. And so for me, it's rather than any kind of spiritual qualities that I tap into when I'm talking about empathy, it's much more about just being a human being, sitting in a room with someone that, shares some kind of pain together, understands what it means to, have your foot stepped on, and what kind of pain that is, or what kind of pain it is when one of your children goes through some difficulty that you didn't foresee and is really difficult for you to understand, or your neighbor goes through, and even when your neighbor is upset with you in some way and you label them and become angry at them, how is it that you can really truthfully walk back out the next time you see them and talk about that in some way and reestablish that connection. And if it's something that's really bothering you, so that you're not doing it out of any sense of politeness, or and strangely, you're not even doing it out of any sense of really wanting to get along with anybody. It seems to me that it's somehow deeper than that. It seems that there's something that, for instance, what happened in 9/11 is that I walked around in my house in the state of shock for 3 days. I could measure the state of shock that I was in. And I wasn't anywhere close to New York City. I didn't know anybody in New York City that was directly affected by it or any of that kind of stuff. But there was somehow that I realized that that was a threat to everybody on the planet that day, that way of resolving the difficulties. And I'm in agreement with the difficulties that were being expressed. I'm not in agreement with taking airplanes and running them into buildings, filled with jet fuel. But I'm in agreement with, expressing upset with the way the United States government treats other governments at times and other people for our own benefit without consideration of them.